Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about the extranet. What happened to the extranet? You know, the extranet, the portal that we use for our clients, our vendors, our suppliers, everything kind of went to the wayside when guest access and Teams came along. Let's bring back the extranet. So in this video, we're actually going to talk about the extranet and how we can use that to set up Tesla chargers for clients or partners outside of Tesla, give them a nice portal to where we can track information, project status of the project, screenshots, contacts for their project team, issues that we encounter along the way. And not only can we do this for one site, we can do this for all the locations for this particular client and set up a structure to where internally we can manage the documents inside and still have the right security, the right access, and the right information to the right people to the outside. Let's get started. So with Microsoft Teams, we all understand that you can invite a guest user to participate in a team, and that way you can collaborate with a user or a set of users outside of your organization using Microsoft Teams. But there is another scenario that the traditional extranet used to take on, the role that it used to take on, and that's really to create a portal experience with the external user. And here we're going to show you how can we recreate that portal experience and in what scenario a portal extranet experience may be better suited than a guest user experience within Microsoft Teams. So here we have, let's just imagine we're working with Tesla, and we understand that Tesla is building all of these charging stations throughout the United States or even the world even. And they, in order to build these charging stations, they're actually putting them on the lots of already existing establishments. So like Myers or Weiga gas station, or even, you know, other remote locations behind hotels and all other sorts of existing infrastructure that they're just carving out a piece. So here we have a partnership with various clients or external users. And here, let's just say Whale and Shell and BP, because eventually, you know, these petroleum providers or gas fuel providers and diesel are going to have to pivot as the electric car movement takes on. So here we have Whale. And the way that this is going to work, if you look at their file structure, you will notice that there are various Whale locations across the globe. And this particular team, and if you look at the team membership, this particular team is a small team. So only an internal team of Tesla employees of probably like 5 or 6 or whatever that count is, are managing all of this Tesla supercharger install. And if you look at the General tab and look at their planner, you can see how they have it where not only do they have one Whale client in general, they also have the various locations. And with all these various locations, you can see how they have the task that's needed to spin up one of these charging stations, right? So basically what would happen if there was a new location, they would just go to an existing task and say, copy the task, because that's going to bring in their checklist, their description, and start off with the naming convention. So here is another site that we're going to spin up. And this is the Whale site number for that particular site location at Whale. And then you just click copy, and now we have a new structure created. Now, what they can also do, because that brings in their checklist, now they can put the right label on it and identify, like, and here you can see how we're using the different states, because Whale is only in these 5 states here in the United States. So here, this could be the South Carolina location. So that way we can go ahead and remove Alabama. And then we will assign the Tesla team. And usually to spin up one of these sites, it would take 2 Tesla employees to kind of see this project all the way through. So for this particular location, we're going to assign this to Ethan, and we're going to assign this to Madison. Okay, so they're going to be responsible for that particular location. Now, as you can see, if I scan over this planner board, you will see that there are various individuals that are paired up for the various locations, and there could be a combination of any of the 6 that are assigned to this particular initiative, the Supercharging Tesla initiative. Now, because of this, this is understanding that structure, understanding that it's a small internal team that's dealing with many different clients outside of the organization, where each client can have many different locations within their initiative for the Tesla charger. That really kind of helps us shape how do we spin up our Microsoft Teams, and what do we need from the SharePoint perspective, understanding that this is going to be an extranet combination of 2 main technologies, Microsoft Teams and SharePoint. So let's look at this again from a whiteboard. So here we have the client, and within that client, we're going to represent that client with a Microsoft team. And we understand from that Microsoft team, they're spun up a SharePoint site collection. And that's important to understand that it's a site collection, because site collections allow us to have subsites underneath them. And there's certain management and security that we can define at the site collection level. So here we have the team, and within that team, you can have various channels, right? So, and these are going to be our standard channels. We're not considering private channels. We're not considering shared channels in this scenario. So because we have these channels, we're going to get the general channel by default, and then all the other channels we can spin up as needed. Because this is a small team, we're not going to spread this initiative out for this particular client across many different channels. And that could be a knee-jerk reaction, right? We could say, well, naturally, for this client A, they're going to have location 1, location 2, location, so on and so forth. Let's create a channel for each one of the locations. Because you're dealing with a small team, you can actually create a lot of overhead where certain documentation can get lost. And when it comes to sharing documents between the different channels, that can create a nuance as well. So here what we're going to do and this could be incorrect, but for this initial reaction, what we're going to do is just use the general channel, the default main channel, and that's going to represent each one of these client locations within different folders within that general channel. And then if you look at this particular scenario, that's what we have here. So we have the general channel. We go over to our files location. Any file that does not have this special symbol here on the folder, those are standard folders within the general channel, whereas these are brought in using the location site for this particular client location. So what do we mean by location site? So here I'm a spin off to the project site, and in this project site, I'm gonna actually open this in SharePoint. This is the project site, and here you can see the representation of all the client sites. Now, how is this put together? If we go back to our whiteboard, remember I told you that we have this site collection that comes with this SharePoint site, and now what we can have underneath that, we can have different subsites to represent each one of these client locations that we're going to build these Tesla superchargers. Now, what does that mean exactly? When it comes to our folder structure, internal within Teams, this is dedicated for the internal team only, the Tesla employees. Whereas these external sites will represent our external portals that our clients or our partners can go into to share and see the status of the project from a SharePoint site perspective. And then what you saw in Teams, remember that we had those folders that had the weird symbol on it, showing that those were SharePoint document libraries brought in as cloud documents or cloud storage. those document libraries are a direct reflection of the project library for each one of these external portals. And that's the magic, right? And this is how they all tie together. Now, this may seem complex, but because this is the team, and this is the site collection that gets spun up with this team, and the folder structure that represents internal, and then another folder structure that represents external, this structure by default implies the right security posture that's needed. And that's why this structure is so important, and that's why this structure is magical. Because what happens from a security perspective, when you look at teams, it's going to come in with your membership and your owners, and those are going to naturally have rewrite access to everything, to all these channels underneath it until you break that with a private channel. And for our folder structure, that works perfectly fine because these 6 members here at the Tesla company are going to be employees, and these 6 members can float across any one of these locations. And we have coverage. So you remember how I told you that we're going to pair them up to where 2 employees per location, they're responsible for seeing that entire location get built up with the Tesla charger. If someone's on vacation or if someone's out of the office, this security posture automatically enables them to clearly jump in and take over for an employee that may no longer be available or maybe out of office for a certain time period. So it's easy for these 6, and this is why the number 6 is important here. It's easy for these 6 to look across the different locations for this particular client, regardless if it's assigned to them or not. They can get a clear picture on where their status is for those particular location projects, right? So everyone will have this view as you see here. Now, let me show you what this looks like from a location perspective. So here, let me go back to the internal site. Now, notice the name. This is going to be our internal site, privy to and accessible only for those 6 Tesla employees. And each one of the WAO's the client. This number here represents the different location. And now what you can do, you can click into this location and you have what I would call an extranet portal, even though it's online. This is what the traditional extranets used to look like, or the role and the responsibility of an extranet. It was really that landing portal that they can come in, get key information. Here's the project plan, budget, and these are all the events that are coming up that they should be aware of for this particular location. Here's all the documentation, the meetings, the permits, the presentations, status reports. All of that is going to be stored here in the document library. We have nice charting here, letting them know, our external partners, letting them know where we are on each one of the main milestones, the percentage of complete between those milestones, how we're doing on budget, how much we're burning in each one of those categories. And then when it comes to the location site, now they can use this. Again, this is all portal, this is all Microsoft 365. So they can use this on their mobile device to where they can go to one of these locations, take the needed pictures to show progress, take the needed pictures if there's an issue, right? So we can go into our issue tracker. And again, all of this is shared between both teams, the internal team and the external team. The external team dedicated to this location, we all have access to this information. It's such a beautiful, beautiful scenario. Now, as you can see, is very, because of the security posture and because of modern SharePoint, there's a lot of tricks we can play to keep things locked in. So let me show you what it looks like to share this out to an external user. So here, this site is fine, is ready to go. Let's share this out to someone at one of the engineers that are at WAO. So all we need to do is go to the gear icon, site information, site permissions, I always get that wrong, and then go share the site. And this is going to be dclark at code513.com. And this is an external user, and we're going to send them the invitation. And notice what we're going to do. We're going to give Deshaun read-only access. He's a partner from outside, read-only access. I actually want to send this email, and I want to send Deshaun a note. Hey, Deshaun, here's the portal. Here's the project portal I mentioned on the phone, right? And then I'll just go ahead and fire this off. Now, this is what we can do. Because we have access to both tenants, we can see what it looks like on the other side. And that's the trick. The trick is to understand what the experience is going to be for our partners outside of the organization as they kind of come in too. So here we are. This purple Chrome is going to show you, this is Deshaun in another tenant. And we click on it. This is what that invitation looks like. Deshaun has a link to the project portal. He clicks on that link, and he's authenticated, and he's brought in. Now, how did that happen, and exactly what just happened? Now, this is Deshaun's tenant. So here, let me bring up Office 365, already authenticated. So he was already authenticated. He went to his Outlook, and then this is the Wayo's tenant, and he was already logged in. And this is the beauty of this type of sharing versus a guest access to Teams. Right? Because if you're ever invited to another tenant's team, in order to get that information, you have to switch contexts, and sometimes that can be a bumpy experience. You notice how this was such a seamless and smooth transition. I'm here in my corporate email at Wayo, receive an invitation from Tesla. I click on the project site, and then I go directly in. And I only have read access. You saw me grant Deshaun read access to this. Now here I can be right here in the project document library. You will notice the icon again highlighting that I only have read access, and I can go through here and see all the information shared with me from the Tesla employees. And notice how the banner here at the top is branded as Tesla, and then when I go to my tenant portal, it's going to be branded as Wayo if I had the Wayo logo and things like that. Now that I have this link, and I know that it's not just going to be me who's going to be who's going to be monitoring this project from a Wayo perspective. Now what I can do, I can come into my tenant, right? I can come into my tenant and then click on the Tesla project icon here in my quick links, go ahead and link to here. So that way all of the other folks on Wayo who's working on this project 874333, they will have an easy, people don't have to dig into their Outlook or anything like that to get access to this. So now if I can click on this Tesla project link, it takes me to the other tenant, and we're ready to rock and roll. Now, here's one of the things that Tesla needs to do. They need to give me edit access, because we need to collaborate on these documents. These documents can come from anywhere. There are going to be documents that will be provided by Tesla, centered around the charging and the technical specs, and their engineers, letting some of our parties know what we need to do. We're going to be working with our local state government on the permits and the inspections and all the things that they need to do to make sure that this charger gets installed well. And we all want to share that information into this one single project site. So over here, we switch context. Here I am back on the Tesla tenant. And for Deshaun, I don't want to give him from Wayo, Deshaun at Wayo, I don't want to give him edit access to everything. I only want to give him edit access to this project document library. So let's do that. So here I just go to library settings. Once I'm in that project library, go to permissions here, say stop inheriting, and then go ahead and grant Deshaun access. So here I can just do, again, everything that you do, you want to reference by email address. So here I have Deshaun. As soon as I start typing code, he recognized Deshaun Clark 2. Go here, I can uncheck that and then share it. And then he's going to come in. Let me hit refresh because there's a little caching that's happening here. And there's Deshaun. I can give him, and we know we just want to give him contribute access. Edit is way too much. Contribute is going to allow him to upload documents and things like that without changing the shape of our views and site columns and things like that. Okay, so now if I switch context again, going back to Deshaun tell them, oh, you should have access to the document library. Notice how those pencils with the line through, those are removed. And now I have some other features here to where I can upload and do all kind of fancy things here. Now, if I go home, you will notice that the edit option is not there. If I go into the photo gallery, which I probably should give, I probably should have edit access here too to upload photos and things like that. But you would notice those upload options are not there until someone at the Tesla side go ahead and grant me access. Notice how sweet and clean this is. I mean, you know, here I can get key contacts. I can view my project team. Here I can see Madison, Andre. I can see who's all on the project team. I was actually hoping I would get the people card that would mouse over and give me, like, show their phone numbers and things like that. But it seems like a guest user that I don't have access to that. So we probably would have to, you know, use the other extended pieces of this web part to where they can put in their phone number, contact information, phone number, email, and things like that, so I can easily get information that I need when needing to contact the project team. Okay, so the other thing I want to show you is that what is the experience on the go? So here we are. Let's just go ahead and fire up this meeting. And in this meeting, you will notice that I'm actually going to share here on my phone. So here I have, I'm joining this meeting with 2 devices, and I'm taking over the screen share. And now I can go into Teams on my mobile phone and go in under the Teams section. Again, these are all, and again, this is me as Deshaun and the context. I should probably not use Deshaun Tesla and Deshaun Wayo, but this is Deshaun Tesla as a Tesla employee. I can click in here as I would with any other mobile experience within Teams, but notice some of the differences. When I'm in Teams in the browser, when I'm not in mobile, I'm in this exact same section. I'm under the Files tab for the Wayo client for Tesla charging project. Notice that I have all of my document libraries here, but when I'm on the mobile device, I don't see those SharePoint libraries here, and that's fine. That's not a big deal. I can see all of my planner. I can see all my tasks. We do have a team calendar. So if I'm going to be off-site, out of the office because I'm meeting with someone at Wayo, or if I'm out of the office because I'm taking a personal day, I can be on my mobile device, add that here, just say, you know, Deshaun, select the right category, just say I'm at the client meeting, and then the dates I'm going to be at that client meeting. So everyone on the team know that I'm either on-site or off-site or unavailable because I'm taking a personal time, wherever the case may be, and that information is going to show up. And you notice that this calendar is a beautiful, responsive calendar, and that way everyone can stay in track on what we're doing, even when we're on the go. Notice what happens when I click on the project site. This is the internal project site that lists out all the client sites that we and my team are responsible for. So it's going to be me and 5 other Tesla employees. We're responsible for getting these charges set up for Wayo. Wayo's our client. They've been assigned to us. We're the SWAT team to make this happen. Now, I can go into any one of these project teams for Wayo. Here I'm under the location site 874333. Again, I can see all the information that I need to see. If I'm meeting with Wayo, and let's say, okay, I'm at the project site and I'm at the photo gallery. I need to take pictures back to my team, evidence of work completed. I can go here to the photo gallery, click on upload, click on files. Again, I'm on my mobile device, click the camera, and here I just want to take a picture of a dollar bill that was left at the Tesla site. So anyone that recognizes this dollar bill, they can claim it, and I can make sure that that get back into the hands of them, right? But more seriously, you're taking pictures of the electrical connect and things along those lines. Now watch this. Now watch what happens. I am a Tesla employee. I took that picture for this location site. Here I am switching contacts of Wayo Deshaun. Now with Wayo Deshaun, I click on the home screen, scroll down to the photo gallery, and it shows you all the photos, and then there's that dollar that was missed. This is the power of having this extranet, not only because, you know, Teams is great. Don't get me wrong, Teams is great. Teams can get very chatty, The experience can be very kludgy at times as well. But this extranet portal, I think it definitely has a place, especially if you're working in construction, if you're working even outside of something physical. I mean, just imagine you're a consulting company, you're working with clients, maybe you're doing a power platform solution for a vendor or a client, and you want to give them a nice project site that has nice UI, a slick interface, a ton of other features, navigation to kind of help categorize things in a meaningful way. This is where these extranet portals are going to come into play. Now, let's look at this one last piece. What is the experience if we're sharing this project site with someone who may not be connected to Office 365? So you notice what happened because this Whale client is connected to Office 365, they can toggle between their tenant and the project tenant, just a click of a link, same browser. They're not incognito mode. They're not creating browser profiles or anything like that. This guest experience is such a smooth transition experience, and they can bookmark, have these bookmarked in their browser, whatever. But here's the other scenario. The other scenario is going to be, what if I'm working with a contractor or a vendor? So maybe there's the electrician at this particular location, and they just have a Gmail account. So let's look and see what that experience is like. So again, I need to share this out. Here I'm going to site permissions, share the site, and this is going to be the other Deshaun. This is Deshaun at Hair Webs Construction. They do construction and they do hair. It's a beautiful company. It's a very unique company. So here we're going with D Hair Webs. Again, let's use this email feature that comes when you're assigning permission. So say, hey, Deshaun Waves, here is the project site. And then I'll say something like, please upload the permits once ready, or something like that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and fire this off. Now, again, this is going to give Deshaun Waves here at the Hair Webs, that vendor, the independent contractor, he's only going to get re-access. But in my note, I told him to upload the permit. So let me run over here really quickly and do the exact same thing we had to do with Deshaun at Wayo. So here I just go to the gear icon, library settings, bounce over here to permissions, grant access, go ahead and do a D Clark at Hair Webs for the independent contractor. Select him here. I don't need to send another message, and then hit refresh. Again, the caching is still in effect. Again, downgrade that permission level. We don't need edit. Let's downgrade that to contribute, and then now Deshaun should be ready to rock and roll. Surprise, surprise, we have access to Deshaun Hair Webs as well. So let's go ahead and click over here. This is Deshaun Hair Webs Gmail account. Here we have two things going on here. We have it's interesting. Notice what happened. Even though I unchecked the option, or maybe I didn't uncheck it fast enough, we got two notifications for Deshaun in Gmail. One notification is get Deshaun to the site. Let's watch this experience. This is important. When I click on this link, note what happens. He's prompted for a Microsoft account. Now, what is this? So watch what Deshaun does. Deshaun Waves is going to put in his Gmail account. All right, this is an alias. That's why you don't see Gmail. But we saw that's in Gmail. So he put in his Gmail account, and notice what happened. This is Microsoft going passwordless. We just sent you a code to this email address. Here we'll send this a code. I got to click this button for the code to be sent. And then go back. There's me bashing Google again. Okay, so here, Microsoft going passwordless. You have an option to create an account or put your password in, or you can just put in your email address and then use the passwordless feature. Say keep me signed in, and then sign in. Now let's see what happens. Another smooth transition. Now it's not clear for Deshaun Hair Webs, and this is where you may have to come up with some instruction that says, if you're not Office 365 or if you create in the prompt, we have passwordless capabilities. So when you're prompted to put in the email address, just use your regular email address. Don't try to think of a Microsoft account, or don't try to confuse this with your Microsoft personal account that you probably use for your family and your Office subscription for your family or household just to get office.com locally within your family. So there may need to be some instruction there, but all he does is put in his regular email address, the one that we sent the invitation to. He gets an option to create a password or to go passwordless, get a code email to them to this email. And then, just like that, we're in. And here you can see I have read-only access until I get to the permits here. And within the permits, I can come over here and upload files. So if I have permits, I can upload those. If I look at this on my phone, right, and if I go to this one on my phone and click on it, I will still get that same prompt. But now I would get a responsive design, a responsive portal that's mobile friendly, that works nice and feels really nice in a mobile device. And I can use my phone to interact with this site as well. Again, here's the power of an extranet portal built using SharePoint and internally managed using Teams, and still having very clean access and security posture in place for your external users. Now, this is what I want to do, and I just want to gauge and see where you all are. Do you want me to start a series? Here's a question, and just hit it in the comment section below. Just say yes to Sean, yes to Sean, yes. Here's the question. Do you want me to create a series of videos showing how to build this from scratch? I kind of did this in the reverse. In a lot of my series, we kind of build them together. But here I have something built, and now I can create a series to build it. And within that, what we would do, we would cover two scenarios. One scenario of how do you create this structure and build it this way under a single channel. I think there may be value into building all of these out under various channels within the same Microsoft Teams client, right? And this whole scenario assumes that you have a small project team. There's so many ways that you can build this structure, and we can talk through that as we kind of build it. So we want to build this from scratch, talk about the right team structure and mix, talk about the security posture on the SharePoint side and Teams. What does that look like? How do you have one project portal internal for Tesla that's really only meant for Tesla users? How do you secure this down to be only for Tesla employee users? How do you ensure that these sites that are meant to be shared externally with different partners or different people per location site, how do you share those out? How do you create a security model to where when you share these out or granting other access, you can do this maybe from an AD group perspective and not necessary as individual users, right? And there's some pros and cons with that as well, and we can talk through that. Once you have these built, the other question is going to be, oh my goodness, how do we automate this? I mean, look at this thing. I mean, this thing has different widgets, I call them widgets, web parts in different areas. All of the budgets and milestones, those are list driven. You have document libraries. You have a global plan. What is a global plan? How does that tie into tasks for teams or to do for or teams for whatever the new name is, planner, right? The issue tracker. How do you spin that up without having errors that you just saw there? And then notice one thing here. You will notice that in this left navigation, let me go out. Let me go to the internal team for 874333. This is the one. Notice the left navigation. Notice how when I'm in here as a Tesla employee versus someone from Wayo, I wanted to call this Waco, but Wayo is sufficient, I guess. I'm trying to make up names without getting any copyright infringement. So here, notice how the navigation is different. Notice how the links that are meant for Tesla employees do not show up for partners and contractors outside of the organization, right? And how do you set that up? And how do you set that up one time and it's automatic? And when people are uploading files or sending out, links to things, security is an automatic thing, and they don't necessarily have to consider that, because that's when most of the biggest mistakes happen. You talk about data loss prevention. Most of the data loss is accidental by sharing too much or not locking down or putting confidential or internal only type documents in the right container to where they're properly secure. Usually that's where your DLP happens. So we're going to talk through all of that. But so I'm just interested to see if you're interested. And if you are, just go ahead and just really quickly, just drop me a comment. Just says, yes, Deshaun, please proceed. Let's say if I get 20 of those, I'll build it out. If not, I will move to the next part, whereas the next part is to automate. I want to do the automate either way, because I think that's not clear, and that can be very frustrating. A lot of people are building these sites by hand, or they're bringing in a pro dev to build these for them. I think you can do it all with scripting, and this can be pretty straightforward, right? And what is this? I mean, this is a sub-site. If you look at my URL here at the top, my project site, the site that gets connected to Teams, the Teams for this particular client, is the site collection. Each one of the location sites that we're sharing externally as an extranet is a sub-site within that site collection. And there's a strategy of why that's the case. And look at the URL naming convention. There's a strategy why that's the case as well. And I want to walk through all of that, as well as the automated process to build this up. And the automation is going to be two-stage. The automation is going to be stage one. Let's just get the automation to where I can spin up a vanilla sub-site, run the PowerShell script, and everything from my master site automatically gets loaded. So I get the web parts on the page. I get all the needed libraries needed to enlist, needed to make this thing hum, all the site columns and things like that are needed. If I have any web parts that are tied to those libraries or lists behind the scenes, those get automatically configured. That's phase one. And so for most of us, that's enough. Like, wow, okay, that's beautiful. That saved me a ton of time, and it's automated. The second one would kind of take that automation to a whole new level, in the sense of spinning up the internal site, spinning up the extranet site, making sure that those are all tied together. And then when you come to Planner, and this is the most frustrating thing, if you ever looked at templates and creating Microsoft Teams sites based on existing sites, we all know that is not a carbon copy, and that does not come over as we had hoped that feature would have bring it. So now we have to use some pro dev to automate those services and to automate those site creation. So level 2 site provisioning looks something like fill out a Power App form that triggers a process within Power Automate, and you may have to call an Azure function, right? Now watch this, you may have to call an Azure function to tell that complete story. But at the end of the day, what we're looking for is a completed Microsoft Teams site, the needed channels, the planner, the tabs, and everything to make this thing happen, as well as the extranet sites that are needed. And I think that's going to be a beautiful thing. And it could be one of those situations to where you can use that in many different scenarios. So just let me know, I base it off of you guys. So should I jump right into the automation, or do you guys want me to start a mini series of building up this these extranet sites and the security, and showing you how to build all of that from scratch? All right, that's it for this video. The extranets are still here. They still have a place in the organization, in the community, in the industry. We're interacting with vendors and clients in a way. Guest access to Teams is wonderful, and sometimes that solves your problem. and we understand that some, context switching in certain scenarios can be very tedious. But as you saw, with an extranet portal using SharePoint and even managing that documentation within Teams can have a much beautiful story, and they're mobile friendly. And I think that is the way in certain scenarios is probably a proper way versus guest access to Microsoft Teams. Thank you so much. Again, hit me up in the comment section. Any questions, hit me up in the comment section. I'm trying to get better at answering questions. I actually need to start doing more live Q&A just so that way I can create that two-way dialogue with you all on this social platform. All right, until the next video, take care of yourself, and I'll see you soon.